The information provided on this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Reliance on any information provided here is solely at your own risk. Welcome to the Birth Baby Podcast. Each week, you'll find guidance, encouragement, and practical tools to support you through pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum journey. I'm your host, Ciarra Morgan, a certified birth and postpartum doula, hypnobirthing educator, and pediatric sleep consultant. I'm also the owner of a doula agency in Austin, Texas, and the founder of the Birth Baby Academy, where I offer classes for both parents and birth professionals. Thanks for being here. Hello, everyone. Today, I have Jes Gannon back with me. Many of you have heard episodes with her in the past. She is my resident postpartum doula. I love saying resident about people that
I know, I do too. It makes me sound so permanent and fun.
You are.
Yeah.
I always say that when Leo's on the podcast. I'm like, our resident midwife. So we are going to chat today. This episode is a little different, y'all. This episode is not going to be like some formatted, I have questions. This is a chat because we just had this episode come out with midwife Leonora about the Free Birth Society and the things that are going on with that. And there is a big podcast about the Guardian's article that they did about her and their investigation, or them, not her, the investigation into the Free Birth Society. I believe it's 6 episodes. If you guys have not gone and listened to their podcast, do it. I am going to try to link that in the show notes as well, and the Guardian article that was written. So when midwife Leonora came on, we did kind of a factual, hey, this is what's going on with a little bit of our input. But the more we looked into this, and Jes has been texting back and forth with me, she's been listening to those episodes, she's been deep diving, now she's been like on their Instagram page, and she's like, Ciarra, can we please get on and chat about this? So that's what we're going to do. This is all opinion, you guys. So, if you're not here for that, you want only the evidence-based episodes, I get it. And you can pass by this one, and you're not going to hurt my feelings. I'll never even know. But if you want to hear a little bit of opinions of me and Jes, dive in, girls.
I would say even our opinions are evidence-based. Like we're pretty hard on the evidence-based around here, I feel like.
Sure, but I'm not going to qualify our opinions as evidence-based.
Yeah, for sure. We're not medical people,
Yeah, so if you have not listened yet to the Guardians podcast, you might even want to go listen to that 6th series before you do. Before you listen to ours, because we're going to kind of talk about how we felt listening to those episodes, like the takeaways we got from them. I'm going to tell you, Jes, when I first heard about the Free Birth Society, I was like, oh, that's really, like, on the surface, oh, that's really cool that they have a place where they all can kind of like have like-mindedness. By the way, if you're listening and you have not listened to anything else, free birth is where you have a birth and there's no medical professional there. So no midwife,
sometimes
doctor.
Called unassisted birth.
Unassisted birth. You also can have a doula there because doulas are not medical. So just no medical people or intervention. And then there's wild pregnancy, which we may speak of, which is you don't get any prenatal care. So not everyone that has a wild pregnancy has a free birth. Not everyone that has a free birth has a wild pregnancy. So, but a lot of people that do one do the other. Especially if most people that have a wild pregnancy end up having a free birth as well. So when I first heard about this, I was like, okay, cool. They have a community, and I think everyone should have community.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think it's great that they have sounding boards and other people to ask questions to and like share experiences with. So on the surface, I thought that was cool. And my first actual like person that I knew of that wanted to do free birth is actually someone you and I both know, Jes, one of the people that I went to Mexico with. And she's like, for my next birth, I'm going to have a free birth. And I was always like, as a doula, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I would do it. And then when I heard it was her, who's another doula, I was like, okay, for her, I would. Because I was like, you know what? She's super educated. She was making this decision because she didn't want, and everyone makes these decisions for different reasons. She was going to make it because she just felt like even though the midwives were good at her birth, it was a little bit intrusive for her. Like she wanted less input and she wants less assistance. And her husband has the ability to like take blood pressures and things like that with what he does for work. And she's like, the basic medical stuff, I'm going to check on my own at home. And I don't feel like I need the additional interventions, Doppler checks, other person in my space. And because she was taking responsibility for those things herself and knowing, because some people go to say they're going to have a free birth and they expect their doula to do medical stuff. And that's not happening with me. And so I was like, for her, I think I could do it. So my first taste of the free birth world was like really positive, and I still have a positive view of some people that choose free birth. I'm just not so down with this free birth society business.
Not with the society.
What was your like first intro, or when did you ever first hear about free birth? Because mine was probably like maybe 4 years ago.
So mine would have been probably in like 2018-ish. And it was actually a friend of mine. We're not friends anymore, not because of this. But she said something about a free birth, and I was like, oh, what's that? And then the more she talked about it, I was like, oh, because I'm a huge fan of autonomy and like people making choices that, reflect their values, like all these things. And so I was just like, okay, yeah, dude, right? Like my kids have never set foot in a public school. Don't judge me. I'm not, whatever. So like everyone's going to do what they want to do. But, then I would ask questions, different things. And, she had a whole lot of kids. So a lot of different birth experiences. And we would talk about different things. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And again, same thing with you at the Free Birth Society. I was just like, oh, cool. Everyone needs a space. Everyone needs a community, whatever. But something I was like, at first I just remember being like, cool. Kind of like you, like, all right, whatever. Because I'm sort of assuming that people are just making sure that this is okay. So I want to say, like, I'm a doula. I'm a birth and postpartum doula. I'm not a medical person. I have a handful of certifications that make me qualified to talk about stuff. But it needs to be said by someone that you have to be a candidate for any kind of birth.
If you're going to do a birth,
if you're going to do a home birth, you have to have certain checks of your health to make sure that you qualify, so that you're not rushing off to the hospital, in an emergency situation. Well, some people do, but because we can't predict everything. But like, these people are at least having a midwife in the room and things like that. And so if you want to do a home birth and you qualify, and then you don't anymore, you go seek the medical care that you need, right?
Right. And most people do.
Yeah. And so I guess I just went into it sort of thinking, oh, okay, yeah, whatever, But the problem I have with this whole thing is people that go into this almost seemingly blind, because they're just like, I don't know anything about this pregnancy. I haven't been checked for anything. I'm not necessarily a fan of like doing tons of ultrasounds and all this, poking and prodding and everything through pregnancy. Definitely make informed decisions, but like, do something. Like, I'm sorry, but for me, wild pregnancy, I can't. That's where. So that's not. I can't do that. So it was always just like a oh, okay, whatever. And it's funny because even my husband like knew about this friend, and he would be like, she's crazy. What's she doing? I'm like, dude, chill out. Like everyone gets to have that. Yeah. I'm like, everyone gets to birth the way they want. And, I defended it because I was just like, hey, don't judge people. I had my baby in a birth center in full of water. So are you judging me? So it's just one of those things. But, last year, I remember at the end of the year when the Free Birth Society stuff started coming up, and you told me about it. And you were like, dude. And I was like, oh my gosh. And
I'm always the one that has like something like, have you heard about this?
Yes. And so I devoured the podcast, and I just finished it a couple days ago.
The Free Birth Society podcast or the Guardian stuff?
The Guardian.
Because Free Birth Society has a podcast. Okay. I'm just.
Absolutely not. They're not getting any of my downloads. Definitely not. The rage I would feel if I had to listen to them talk. No, I listened to the Guardian one, like almost back to back, and it was so good. It was one of those things where it was like a book you can't put down. I would just be like, I'm going to go pee and just listen for 5 minutes, or whatever. So I loved it. And, but at the same time, I was just like, this is crazy. So
it's sad.
These poor women are just, they're believing this stuff from these people that are just not medical professionals. Like I can't understand.
I need to rewind here. So first of all, some people choose wild pregnancy because they don't have medical coverage. And so that I want to separate that out here.
I
that
get that.
happens.
But
and some people try, and some people try to get like Medicaid and things like that. And for some reason they don't qualify because they make too much money, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are also people that have free births because their insurance only covers an in-hospital provider. They don't have the money to pay for an out-of-hospital provider. And so they free birth. Now, if that happens, hopefully they're going and they're educating themselves on what an emergency looks like, all of these things. And I'm actually part of, as a doula, I like to see all perspectives. And so I'm actually part of some unassisted birth groups on Facebook, and I'm just a voyeur. Like I am a fly on the wall just to learn, because I want to be open-minded and learn about how other people think and see the world. And so I'll see in there, like moms post things about, man, I've been in, I'm experiencing this in labor. Does that sound normal to you guys? Like, has anyone else heard this or experienced this? And this is a group where you are not allowed to mention assistance. You cannot say hospital, you cannot whatever. However, in this group, what people will say is, that doesn't sound normal to me. Is this and this happening? Like from my education, if you're experiencing this, that's not normal. And then the moms then are like, oh, shoot. Okay. And they needed that sounding board. And maybe that is their community. And maybe they don't have anyone else in the background that they can ask these questions to. And fine, at least they have someone. But in that group, comments aren't shut down, or you're not allowed to say that doesn't seem normal. And what was happening in the Free Birth Society Facebook group is that those comments were deleted when it's like, I have, something coming out that is like pea soup in my amniotic fluid. Well, that's heavy meconium. But anyways, I'm having this. Is that okay? And someone's like, and she's like, and it's been like that for 5 days. And then someone goes, oh no, like this is not normal. And then that comment gets deleted and that mom never sees that. It disappears. And she doesn't know that there are people out there championing for her to like, hey, your instincts clearly are saying something's wrong. You're typing in this group. Go get help. And the biggest funny thing to me, like the ironic thing here, the comedy gold almost here, is that these women that were the Free Birth Society women, the two main heads of this, were selling a program that had the word midwife in it. And they were calling themselves authentic midwives. And can we just talk about how, I thought unassisted birth was I thought free birth was without a medical professional. And even though they say that they weren't saying that it was a medical professional, like now that they're called on it, they're like, we weren't saying we're midwives. Well, then you used the word. And doesn't that make it not a free birth anymore? If we have midwives.
Yeah. Oh, the other complete hypocrisy that I'm just like,
it's hypocrisy.
Yes. Okay. So this is what made me call you this morning, because I was like, I can't, Ciarra, I can't. It's because I went to the Free Birth Society Instagram this morning after like listening to Leo and you guys talking, because I finished that podcast this morning myself, and I'm going to listen to this one with me on it next week. And I always do. But there's a pinned thing, and you guys can go look at it yourselves right now. It's pinned, and it's just like a social media disclaimer that is clearly written by a lawyer, or at least approved by a lawyer or whatever. And of course, we have to have these things. You have one for the podcast telling people, hey, I'm not medical.
Add one to my website. Honestly, I've heard like even the lactation consultants in town and stuff has there. I was like, oh, I need to do that.
Yeah, seriously. And so it's like, so wait a minute. Okay. So you're literally saying, because I don't have it verbatim, but it basically says, we are not medical professionals. This is just our own like anecdotal stories, la-di-da, whatever. If you want seek advice from your provider. Like that's the verbiage that they have on probably their website. I saw it on the Insta, and I'm just like, really? Like, so wait a minute. I'm supposed to not trust the medical, what do they call it? The medical compound, or I don't even know.
Construct or system.
Yeah. I can't think of it. We'll think of it in a minute. But I'm not supposed to trust them. I'm supposed to just trust my body and whatever, but like, don't listen to you and seek medical advice it's confusing, and these poor people, like I do want to say, I'm sure I'm coming off a little judgy, but I have so much empathy for these women and people that went through that, because I feel like a lot of people are just primed for certain like cult-like abuses that can happen to them. And because to me, this is like a form of abuse. This is like, I'm not giving you the right information. And when you call me in the middle of your birth, I'm like, yeah, it's cool. CYA all over the place. Like, do you really care about these women? Or are you just trying to monetize a theory that you have, which, let's be honest, that's what's happened. These people have made millions of dollars
And
off of
the
this. Like,
texting
that's a
that's
red
going back and
flag.
forth, I don't know if they were getting paid for the texting. I think that they already received payment and then
Yeah,
they
it was
were
like a
getting text
package or
messages.
something.
Yeah, I think that was like already included. So I don't think that they were making any more money from texting them. And I'm just confused as to like some of these stories are devastating in the Free
Super.
Birth
I
Society
had to pull over
group.
once and like get myself together because
You guys, go
it's
listen. If you
terrible.
haven't, go pause this one. Go to the Guardian's
Mhm.
the Guardian's podcast about this. Trigger warning, y'all. There are parents who lost their babies because they were
Mhm.
told this is
Yeah.
normal. This is normal. This
There
is
was a
normal.
woman that the one that got me the most was the woman who her water broke and she had gone 7 days.
I know. And her reading back her text messages between her and Emily. And then when she was reading them, she was like, this is disgusting. This is
Yeah.
embarrassing. She was like,
Yeah.
this is embarrassing. She's like, you know, and this is another thing. The Free Birth Society calls on radical responsibility or whatever. And
Yeah.
I understand that. But then if you're saying to have radical responsibility, why do you keep giving them information throughout their labor? Why are you giving them any guidance?
Right.
They're
And
supposed
why?
to take radical responsibility, so don't give input then.
And where's your radical responsibility, lady?
And the
You're
phone
over here
call
like,
between the woman in another country and had a phone call with Yolanda to process her birth afterward that she
yes,
paid like 800 and something dollars for. And Yolanda was basically like, I'm sorry your baby passed, but this is
not
on
my
you, not
fault.
on me.
Yeah. You shouldn't have listened to my stupid advice.
Yeah, she was like, you can't
um,
just read a book that somebody writes and then
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but that was not, it's not the same. It's not the same as reading a book that somebody
No.
writes. It is a personal
No.
relationship that these people,
Yes. Yes.
I've experienced a tiny piece of this and like tiny, where
Hmm.
people feel like they know you because they've
Hmm.
listened to you talk so much. So I've had people
Yes.
hire me as their birth doula and like, we'll get on an interview. I'm like, okay, so what questions do you have? And be like, I feel like I already know you. You
Yeah.
know, and that's so cute. And it's
Yeah.
very flattering and very sweet. And then I get to know them a little bit.
Hmm.
But we have a friend that's kind of like TikTok famous or whatever. You know, she got real big after a video. And
Hmm.
she even said, like, what is that called? The relational, there's a word for it.
Oh, like parasocial
Yes,
relationships.
thank you so
I
much
can't
for
believe
knowing
I
that.
remembered that,
Oh
by
my
the
God.
way.
Parasocial relationships happen when, and if you don't
Mhm.
know what that means like you see somebody on social media or whatever, or on TV, like people feel like Taylor Swift is their best friend, right? Because like,
I
I
do.
know her, right?
Yeah.
And you don't, but you feel like you do. And that is kind of what was
Mhm.
happening here. This isn't just you read a book. This is you've been in their Facebook groups. You've been in maybe you're in their cohort. Some of this happened to people who are studying in their MII or whatever,
Dude,
MMI or whatever.
they didn't they
One
do
of
a
those,
statistic of like a certain amount of people in that lost babies,
I
like a
think that they
staggering
had
amount?
I want to say they had three. Now, don't quote me, but I think they had like 3 baby losses in 8 months or something like that.
It's
That is not
crazy.
the statistic. And then they sit
No,
there and
no.
say, well, death is a part of birth. Like some babies die. You know what? They do. There are some cord accidents that happen that are completely unpreventable. I've had clients lose
Hmm.
babies. There was some sort of accident and you would never know from the outside. There were no signs or symptoms. And all of a sudden you're not feeling your baby anymore.
Yeah.
Tragic. Those are tragedies that had
Hmm.
no fix to them and you couldn't have known. No amount of testing, no amount of anything
Hmm.
could have changed that outcome. Now, that is not what is happening here. We are closing our eyes, digging our heads in the sand,
Hmm.
and then being like, "Oh, well, that's just part of it if they don't work." And when
I
you
guess
said
that
like,
baby didn't find their breath in
"Oh my
time. Are
God,
you
I know we'll get
serious?
there too. I can't." When you saying in the beginning, like you have to qualify. So when we say that, there are midwives that have licenses, right? And
Hmm.
they are not allowed to keep people in their care to have an out of hospital birth unless certain criteria are met, because those situations are high risk enough that
Hmm.
have been deemed to need hospital care. Now, I know that there are differing opinions on severity levels here, and sometimes people are risked out before maybe they should be, and maybe it's like hypervigilance, okay?
Yeah.
But if if you do not get any medical care during pregnancy, zero testing, you don't know if you have gestational diabetes, you don't have to take that yucky drink, even if finger pricks, whatever. Like, you have no knowledge if you have that. You have no knowledge if you have protein in your urine. You have no knowledge of what your blood pressure is because you're not taking it. And you can have sudden onset preeclampsia. I had a client get it at their 39-week, 6-day mark, or they were 40 weeks one day. That's what it was. And it was their 40-week appointment. She never had blood pressure issues ever before. And all of a sudden she was 200 and something over 100 and something. And we were rushing over to the hospital.
Yeah.
It happens. But if you don't, and she had no other symptoms. She was so asymptomatic. She had no idea. And by the way, anyone who's listening, preeclampsia, high blood pressure is a symptom of preeclampsia. It is not what preeclampsia is. Hypertension is high blood pressure. So when these things are happening, if you're not taking any baselines of anything, you don't know if you would even be a candidate for a safe out-of-hospital birth, let alone a safe unassisted birth. And I say safe. Safe is a relative word here. I understand that.
Right. Safe is possible. But I would argue that a wild pregnancy and a free birth really shouldn't go together, friends. Like, get it checked. Just get it checked out. Get one little ultrasound, maybe a little blood work. Just, like a la carte that thing. I don't care. But like, you don't have to do all of it. Just do some of it, people.
So
like, I just can't wrap my head around it.
Some people have such medical trauma or such trauma from other things in their life that even going to an appointment to getting blood taken is debilitating for them. And I hate that for them.
I have my own medical trauma. I had a terrifying experience with a dentist in my early 20s that definitely colored the rest of my experience with dentists, even up to like a few years ago, having to get stuff done. And I was just like, I had to like meditate. It was crazy.
Did you listen to Caitlin's birth story? The labor and delivery nurse that chose to deliver out of hospital? It was a few weeks ago.
No, maybe. Oh,
she's a labor and delivery nurse that had 2 out-of-hospital births. And she had an experience in her 20s, I think, early 20s, where she had to get a colposcopy, I think it was, where she had to get like a biopsy done. And when they were doing it, she was being electrocuted because the grounding sheet or whatever wasn't there right. And they just thought that she was uncomfortable. And she kept trying to say like, no, something's wrong. And they were like, it's okay. Like, do you need a minute?
Gaslighting you.
She was being electrocuted that entire time.
Oh my God.
There are times for sure where like our past experiences color the way we're able to experience future things. And I get that. Like, I get why some people don't do the medical care. I just wish that there were more options for, I guess, things to be covered out of hospital, because I think that a lot of people don't realize how much different midwifery care is from OB care. And that and even still, like Leo and I talked about it on the other episode, even not all midwives are going to give the care that someone's looking for. So I get it, but it's like
insurance companies certainly don't understand the benefits of a midwife over a doctor, being in the hospital or whatever.
They would have such lower payouts. Can you imagine how much money they would save by having midwifery care for everyone?
Listen, guys, I had 2 kids. One of them cost $1 million, literally.
Yeah, literally.
The other one cost $3,000. One of them was in the hospital, and the other one wasn't. I mean, she was a preemie. I needed to be there. I had preeclampsia. I almost died. But I went to the medical stuff when I needed it, people.
Well, I was military with my daughter. I was in a military hospital as a military wife. And you don't get an OB unless you're high risk. Everyone gets midwifery care at the military hospital unless you're high risk, because it's cheaper.
Yeah. Even the government knows. They're like, hey, let's go over here. Let's do this. Let's do this. Yeah. But it's still just people, you have to be a candidate for the kind of birth you want to have. And the way to define that for yourself is you got to do some checks and boxes. So check some boxes off. Like, and I definitely feel for the moms who don't have, like, my first pregnancy, I was on Medicaid, and I actually had an OB, and I was like wanting to go to midwifery care. It was really funny. I was pretty much under the impression that I was going to have an OB back up my midwife, because I watched The Business of Being Born, and that's what they do in New York back in the day. So I was like, yeah. And she was like, are you kidding me? No, we don't do that. She sent me 2 certified letters to let me know I ain't your doctor. Not your doctor.
She bought
for sure. She was like, I'm out of here. And I did get a midwife at 5 months pregnant. But I mean, I had to save for 5 months to be able to pay the $3,000 for the, you know what I mean? That was 16 years ago. But like, do what you got to do. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, there's got to be a way for you to go get some blood work or just something, because
And they
just,
so mistrust the medical system, though, that some of those
Mhm.
people think even if nothing's wrong, they're going to tell me something's wrong
Yeah.
because they want
Yeah.
to trick me. So it's
Hmm.
real. But the majority of people, not everyone, none of everything,
No,
and none of anything we're saying in here is everyone or every situation.
no, of
But the
course not.
majority of people that are choosing to birth this way is because of some sort of mistrust or
Yeah.
past trauma. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like what happened with the Free Birth Society was predatory. Maybe it
Oh,
started with
yeah.
good intentions. Maybe it
Hmm.
did. But it ended up becoming something that was preying on people that are already everyone who's pregnant is in a vulnerable position,
Hmm. Hmm.
let
Yeah.
alone if somebody already has some sort of trauma that makes them not want to be part of the medical system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because otherwise, I'm not sure why anyone wouldn't want to. If you thought that you could have exactly the same experience, but have a little bit of a safety net in case something was truly wrong, I think most people would do that. But that's the
Hmm.
thing is they don't think that they can get that even with midwifery care.
Hmm.
So I really, I'm so sad for the women that were misguided and
Yeah.
preyed upon because
Hmm.
they go back and they think back and they're like, I would let somebody give me a C-section every time
Oh
just to
my
be able to
God.
have that
I'd do
baby back.
1,000 C-sections to get my baby back. I mean, wouldn't
Yeah,
you? Right? I'm speaking
absolutely.
for them, assuming that they'd say that.
But
Yeah.
that's what the
And
Free
like,
Birth Society is
imagine,
saying is like the trauma of having to have a C-section. Like basically what they're saying in by
yeah,
default is the trauma
it's
of having a
worse.
C-section is worse than the trauma of losing your baby.
No, I would say
Wow.
absolutely not. That's crazy. That's just crazy town. And that's why it's sort of like a cult. Like, can we not? Like, do you
It's a
not see
definite,
it? I mean,
yeah.
and I feel the other thing too that's getting me is like all the attention this is getting. And like, look at us right now talking about it here, like these poor women who did lose their babies, or even the ones that didn't lose their babies, but had
What about the one that has
really
like
bad
severe,
times.
yet he
Yeah,
will
like,
forever need assistance?
yes, yes. Oh my gosh, that one. Yes. Um, these moms and dads too, I'm sure, are like, if you get on the internet, there they are, looking all happy. Freaking
Mhm.
Emily, whatever the heck her name
I
is
know.
posted on January 1st. These are all the things I did this year. Man,
I know.
and I was just like, are you kidding me? Are you going to like go away? Go away.
Run.
48
Okay.
babies died because of your stupid crap. Go away. Get off social media and go hide in your $1 million compound. Like,
The fact that she has the guts to
oh,
still show her face to me is what I would run
yeah,
away. I would
yeah.
be like, okay, I'm going to disappear for a little while, you guys, and
Hmm.
I'm just going to
Hmm.
hope that everyone forgets about me. Right. But that's the
Yes.
thing is that people that have the personality that do what she did and are
Uh-huh.
able to, this is a very charismatic type person. That
Yes.
is the charismatic,
Hmm.
people attracting
Yes.
people are the ones that end up becoming the leaders of groups like this.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
at no fault of anyone that gets roped in. Okay. Like there
Right.
are people that get pulled into cults without having a clue that's what's
Yeah.
happening to them.
Yeah. No
And
one
most of
willingly
them are
joins a
vulnerable
cult.
populations.
Like, I'm going
Yeah.
to go join this cult, I think. Yeah.
Right. No one really does
No,
that.
no.
But people like that, they keep showing up because they
Hmm.
are so into themselves and they can't
Hmm.
see past themselves and they have such an ego that they
Hmm.
just keep doing it. I mean, she's still selling tickets for her Radical Birth Keeper program that's happening the
And
next one.
what also kills me, because I was like, so I was like, I'm going to scroll and see if anybody I know is liking these posts, because I'm like, who are these people that are still liking, still commenting? There was one that had like fire emojis. And I'm like, what are we? 48 babies died. Are y'all serious? Like,
I know.
it's just the
So
audacity. The
those
audacity kills me.
those groups that I'm in, that like unassisted birth group, I'm going to read something. I have no name associated with it. I think they actually posted anonymously. But this is what they said. This is a public comment in a private group, but that's not, I'm allowed to share this.
By the way, guys, earlier, she showed it to me, and then she's like, you know what?
Don't read it. I want to
Don't
hear what
read
you
it.
think.
I'll read it to you on the podcast. So you guys are getting my live reaction. I'll try to
Reaction.
control my face.
I just thought this was really interesting and brave to post. And I'm so glad she did because there were a lot of people in this unassisted group that were still really backing Emily's behavior. And we're like, I don't think that she gave anybody any advice. I don't think she texted with anybody. You have to pay for that. And someone else was like, you clearly didn't even listen to the podcast, did you? And they think that this Guardian article is just a downer on free birth. And you guys, we're not saying anything bad about free birth necessarily.
It's the Free Birth Society. It's Emily and Yolanda.
Society. So when we say people should be getting these checks or whatever, it's that Emily and Yolanda should have been telling people like, hey, figure out if you're a candidate first.
Yeah.
Like that's a realistic thing to say. So this is what someone said. Coming from someone who's been a paid call leader within the FBS membership and RBK, Radical Birth Keeper, their quote, traditional authentic midwife, school before MMI, grad, who's gone on to support women hiring a Radical Birth Keeper, RBK, for their own unassisted births, and my own viral, quote unquote, FBS podcast episode for my first free birth after buying and using their, quote, complete guide to free birth, and gone on to since have my second free birth, and as a community call leader among my own RBK's cohorts group, who is still active, attended their in-person festival, Matriarch Rising, and had a personal texting relationship with Emily and many convos with similarly positioned and closer inner circle women over the past year, and being within the WhatsApp group where the women who organized all 2025 working with Guardian on the article and sharing their candid personal stories beyond Reddit. If you listened to the Guardian's podcast series, The Birth Keepers, you'll hear in the 6-part series plainly audio clip after audio clip of Emily and Yo's own products and podcasts sharing a, quote, radicalized version of free birth. So she's trying to point out here, this is the radicalized version. This isn't what everyone thinks that it is. Then she said, audio clips from the products I've paid thousands for, and those in MMI, originally Matrabirth Midwife Institute, paid $12,000 for. The series explains how they've marketed and profited off of selling a version of free birth that teaches you to rely on their, in all caps, statistics of what they've, quote, never seen in, quote, hundreds of undisturbed birth.
Which was debunked, by the way. She didn't go to 100 births.
I know. Our year's group of grads started seeing our own stats unfold as we began serving as birth keepers. Women's first attended births would have babies' lives majorly impact. So when she says attended, she's meaning the ones that attended free births. The first free births that these women attended have babies' lives majorly impacted. Because they were radicalized into believing or directly hearing from Emily and Yo via text that, quote, all is normal, quote, babies always come, quote, these are just variations of normal, quote, some babies take 5, even 15 minutes or more to fully arrive, etc. You will hear all of the direct sound clips. I feel glad many of you don't know the depths of what is taught and radicalized, but I also expect many don't even know the impact that has been leaked into your own awareness. Because their stats and beliefs, their quotes around stats, and beliefs around what is true emergency and how, quote, in all of my experience, I've never seen a true emergency, etc., type repetition over and over, how it leaks into their free podcasts and then becomes parroted by others in the community here and becomes indistinguishable. That's such a good point. I know personally too many women who are intending to take full responsibility for their birth, but the clarity that many of us are grateful for these articles and especially the podcast series is because it begins to uncover the Free Birth Society's version of free birth that teaches women it's normal and better for your child to die at home in free birth and possibly the mother than receive any kind of medical care. As if many, and in parentheses she said most, women who've experienced transfer don't have thriving, healthy 3-year-olds now. If you're dismissing the entire year of uncovering FBS as just, quote, bad press for free birth, you're missing out on your own possibly urgent deradicalization, known or unknown, from the global impact of the version of free birth they've sold. Mic drop. That is such a big piece of this, you guys. Free birth, like unassisted birth, let's not even use the word free birth, unassisted, by yourself without a medical provider birth, is so you don't have the impact of anyone else influencing your experience. And you are an autonomous human being who is having and listening to your own body. And what the Free Birth Society did is they chose to market this, put their spin on it, and that's what a cult does. It regurgitates information, it creates sound bites, and then other people parrot it. How many times, like, if you hang out with somebody, you start saying the silly things that they say?
Yes.
We do it. Everyone does it.
We're the same person practically over the years.
Couples start saying the same things.
Right.
Best friends have the same sayings. Free Birth Society did this, and instead of everyone taking their own autonomy for their birth and having it in their own hands, they then were looking and reaching out for Yo and Emily to pat them on the back and tell them it was doing okay, because that's what a cult does. You want their approval. Am I doing it right? So even still, the point of unassisted birth is to do it yourself.
And they weren't even doing it.
Society said, hey, let us tell you how to do that.
Right. Yeah. And mind F you the whole way. And we aren't going to take our own accountability or radical responsibility for what we've done. Because I think that was something that they did touch on, is like the one on The Guardian. I think she did say something at some point about, you would think that they would be more accountable when they're giving off this philosophy of accountability or whatever, but they're not. They're just like, no, that's you. That's on you.
Yeah, because they aren't responsible for what impact they had on you. Only you are responsible for everything.
Yeah.
And the sad piece is that, Emily's baby did pass. And she then had to kind of taste her own medicine of taking this radical responsibility. And she did. And she showed up. She kept showing up. I'm kind of surprised about that too. Maybe I shouldn't be. But the things that they say in that Guardian, like the sound bites you hear about her saying that she would lie if her baby was born alive, but then didn't claim their own breath or whatever they say, like babies have to claim their life.
Yeah.
So basically don't intervene and just let them sit there and try. And if they're struggling, and they have to fight to make it into this world.
Dude, one of the first things that happened to my oldest, she got resuscitated by my midwife, because that happens. Sometimes they're not breathing and they need a little kickstart. And you're not going to do anything. You're just going to sit there and be like, catch your breath, baby. Like what? Like that's the whole thing that's just like mind blowing for me. Is like these women who are in this most vulnerable state, primed for all this crap, and they're going with it. And like it's just wild. The
and
levels
they're worried
of like
that they'll get kicked out of this group that they're so indoctrinated with, and also just feel such a relationship with. They'll get kicked out if they find out that they had any assistance in their birth. So they're sitting there trying to push through and make it, even if their intuition is telling them not to, because nobody wants to be ostracized and not be allowed to be the group that their identity is kind of wrapped up in at this point. But Emily even said, if my baby just didn't claim their breath, I would tell everyone that my baby was stillborn instead of died after birth, because I didn't intervene. Because she knows that's illegal. And it is neglectful if a baby, this is an interesting kind of way to look at it too. Something else I thought about, it's neglectful if you know that you're a baby. There was just a cult. I don't know if you've heard about this, but there was just on one of the crime podcasts I listened to, they were talking about a cult that you weren't allowed to give like medical care or whatever. And this little girl had type 1 diabetes, and she was sitting there dying in her home. And she was, I think, like 8 years old or something, and they refused to give her insulin, and she passed away slowly after not receiving insulin because they weren't giving it to her because God was going to save her. And as a Christian, that's disgusting to me. I know as non-Christians would think that's disgusting too, but guess what? I do also. And that is a cult. The cult is saying, don't. Now that is neglect. You are neglecting medical care. But it's interesting that just because you don't know something's wrong doesn't mean that you're not responsible for it. You don't know that your baby maybe has something wrong in utero and maybe a heart defect or something that they may pass when they're born because they need medical care immediately. You don't know. But you didn't, isn't it neglectful to not find out? That's an interesting...
Well, that's the thing. Like when Emily said, like, well, I wouldn't say anything because of I don't know her exact words, but basically the implications of what it means to have a baby born alive and then have it die when there's no medical people anywhere and you didn't seek that out. It's like, then what do you do? Oh, well, you just lie about it. And she encouraged other people to do this. There's a soundbite on that thing.
Yeah.
And she told other moms
And then she said, I should be careful about what I say on here. She
Yeah,
even said that.
yeah.
And then she
I'm
talked about
so glad they got that soundbite and put it out. I'm so glad. Oh my God. I hope
she
that
even
haunts
said
her
that
in her dreams.
there was a midwife in Australia or something that they asked, what do you do when a baby passes? And they said, we dig deeper. Like they dig the grave deeper so that people won't find the baby. What is happening? And what's really sad to me is, and I wish I could know, I wish I could be in the brains of the people that are in that group.
That's what you took from that statement?
Yeah, they dig the hole deeper.
I took it as like you dig deeper within yourself and you try to find out what went wrong. That's what I took that as.
No.
Oh God.
She said, what do you do with the baby's bodies? Maybe I'm wrong. I have to go back and listen to it.
Now we're going to have to go back and listen to it. But either way, both of those are,
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
In different ways.
Crazy. Totally crazy.
That's so funny.
The thing is, when you become so entranced with one ideology, going away from it feels almost like it's I don't know, foreign. It's wrong. You're you're going to be, you've made community with these people and there's all these different things. And let's not forget, they created an echo chamber by deleting comments, taking every single, people were talking about how they would see it
people
and then
got kicked out of the radical birth keeper group if they said anything, asked questions that were too aggressively against whatever, or trying to ask questions to get deeper. God. And Emily didn't have the answers. They had just paid all that money and they would just get kicked out. But one of the things that I do wish that I could be in the brains of the people that are still in the group or still following this mindset and really still backing Emily is, do you agree with most of the things that, having free birth, having wild pregnancy, that fine, okay. But do you agree? I wish I could know if they agree with the not helping your baby after they're born and need a little bit of, because you guys, birth is natural and normal and our bodies were made to do this, but even nature has defects. Birth is natural, but that nature can be wild. There's, the Darwinism thing, that's
where science comes in. And we're, if you're a Christian and you believe all this stuff, love that. Let's go there for a second. Sure. Jesus made people. Yeah. Jesus made people. Okay. And Jesus made people with brains to come up with science, to do inventions that save babies' lives. Hello. Are you kidding me? We're not going to use these resources.
I love that you say that as somebody who's not a Christian. That's to me, I'm God made people with brains that created these really incredible things that helped us be able to live longer or whatever. That's the way that I look at it.
But here's the other thing too.
I wish that I knew.
The wild thing about this too is okay, so we get that it comes from trauma and different things, but let's apply this theory to other stuff in life. Okay. You're going to take birth so down to the studs that you're not going to get medical care during your pregnancy and you're not going to have anyone in the room. Okay. But you're going to walk around with a cell phone in your pocket.
Oh, that's interesting.
You're going to check your email multiple times a day.
Some of them do, some of them don't.
Media. Well, I'm just saying, for society as a whole, we are participating in systems that probably used to be primal. I mean, the Flintstones used to go around on their little feet thing or whatever, and now we're riding around in cars with wheels. So what do you mean? What do you mean?
Tesla drives us. We don't even have to drive.
Freaking Waymo is right next to you, freaking you out. How do you? So here we are. We're going to do all these other things, but we're going to take birth and just completely do nothing. And this is the thing. I do think it's important to say, you've been touching on, free birth society doesn't equal free birth. Those are not the same thing. And I want to make sure everyone knows I'm talking about the free birth society and these crazy people. Free birth as its own standing thing, if you've qualified, do you, boo? Do you? But if you have no map, like you said, no blood test, nothing to show that you, then how can you I don't know.
Still, I'm still pro that. I'm still fine if you do that. As long as it's not because Emily and Yolanda or anyone else is telling you should. That should be something that comes deep within you. That could be a spiritual reason. It could be whatever you want it to be. If if you still choose a wild pregnancy and a free birth, even if you don't know if you're low risk, I still respect the autonomy of doing that. That's fine.
Yeah. But get
what
all
I
the
don't is,
information.
well, or not, whatever. Even
Yeah.
still, let's play devil's advocate. Even if not, as long as it's not someone else outside of yourself telling you to do it. Like that's where the danger to me comes in. And I think that there are two types of people in the Free Birth Society. And here, this is like, whatever, maybe I'm wrong. I think that there are two
You're never wrong,
types
Ciarra.
of people. Oh, I love you for that. But now you're wrong. So the two types of people, one, they're like Emily and Yolanda, and they're extremely radical, and they are fine with living the results that those choices make. And they also are a little bit out there and willing to infiltrate other people's lives. And it's a bit of a control of other people. And I think that's dangerous. And I think the other people in the Free Birth Society, and maybe there are some participants that are also that way, and the other people are preyed upon people.
Yeah.
I don't
by those other
really
people.
in between.
Yeah. So I told you that about that friend that I had, and she was very active in the free birth world. Not, I don't know that she was necessarily connected to the society, but like a lot of the things like I used to hear her say were the things I would hear on this. So it is still a lot of the same stuff. But that person also was extremely radical about almost everything else. This person did not discipline their children.
Right.
There was none of that going on. There was just do you kids, whatever, you know what I mean? And same thing with homeschooling. Like not nary a thing was taught to these children. Like
right.
I practice unschooling and I'm proud to say that, but I also sit my kids down and, do stuff sometimes. Like you still have to sit down and learn. Yeah, you have to sit down and learn how to do a thing you don't want to do for an hour because that's what we have to do in society. You know what I'm saying?
Or go learn something for fun, but like still learn something. We don't just not teach them anything.
We're just not going to go. Yeah, right. And so, and it doesn't have to look like what school looks like just to unschool or homeschool, right? You know what I mean? But it's like applying these things to your life. Like another person that I know that did free birth and also was like extreme with different things literally told me one time, Jess, it's okay to unparent sometimes.
Unparent? I don't know if
and
I've
I was
heard
like,
of that
no,
one.
I know. Unparenting, don't even get me started. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Okay. I'm not going to do that. Like kids need guidance. Kids need certain things. Like we have to walk them through a lot of stuff. Yeah. But you're right. It's the same two types of people. It's like,
it's an extreme radicalization and control of other people, or it's a vulnerable population that had some sort of trauma generally, not always.
I would probably say always.
Yeah, that made
always. I mean, come on, who hasn't had trauma? Like,
right.
But I think specifically the kinds of trauma are, sexual assault stuff, obstetric violence, obviously, and even if you haven't had obstetric violence, but you've had, because like I said with that dentist thing, like I was laying down and I could feel him doing the Novocaine shots, and I was like, okay, that's pretty normal, and then he started the work and I was having like 6 teeth pulled and I could feel it. And I was like, I can feel it. And I'm like telling him and I'm like kind of flailing about and I'm like, hey bro, I can feel it. And he put his hand over my mouth and he said, shut up, just shut up. Everyone in the waiting room can hear you. And I was like, oh my God. And right then I heard the nurse say something like, oh, doctor, and then all of a sudden I go back to sleep, I guess. And I don't remember anymore after that because I had an IV in my arm with my whatever was going in my body to put me out.
Wow.
And it wasn't working. And like it was messed up or whatever. And so this all happened and I did remember. And then and so then I go out and then when I wake back up after it's all done, he's like, oh, hi, so not just, dude, it was creepy.
Yeah.
Just the way that he was like, because I was now awake. And the first thing I said to him, I remember. And came for his license. But like, even with that was a dentist. That was in my mouth. That wasn't even
any person of authority. I think that's probably a safe bet. Is somebody of authority there's some sort of trauma with some people of some sort of authority, and authority means different things to different people. But
for sure. But even that experience like colored my birth because I was like, I didn't want to, I didn't need to birth in a hospital my first time. I qualified for a home birth and I had a lovely midwife and did all the things, so like, birth autonomy, but get it checked. That's what I say. Get it checked. Ciarra says, do you?
I don't care. Do you, boo? But as long as nobody else is telling you, you should do it. Well, this is fun. This is like so out of our norm to do this, but I loved this idea. And let us know if you thought this was fun.
Yeah, I just hope that anybody that's listening like knows that this is we're coming from like the hard work that we do is because we care. We love people. We care about the community at large. We care about the moms and dads and families we support. And it's just really, really hard to hear about people getting screwed over like this in these epic ways. Can you even imagine losing your baby, first of all, and then secondly, having to go deal with all this BS that they're literally like gaslighting these women. Like, no. So I just hope everybody listening to this knows that we do feel a lot of empathy for those people and we wish we could change their outcomes. But unfortunately, sitting on a podcast doesn't do that. So
no, it doesn't, but it felt good, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It did.
This is therapy. Thanks for coming to our therapy.
Yeah. And I'm sure some people will be entertained, at least, I hope. I don't know. But yeah, so.
Entertained or irritated, one of the two, maybe. Well, thank y'all. And go ahead and email if you have any commentary or if you have something that you would like to talk about on the show.
Oh, yeah. Let's get a conversation going, guys. I want to hear what everybody thinks.
Yeah. Our resident postpartum doula, Jes. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review the podcast. It helps us reach more families who can benefit from this resource. For more resources, classes, and services, head to empoweredbeginningsatx.com or check out the Birth Baby Academy at birthbabyacademy.com. Until next time, wishing you confidence and calm on your journey through birth and beyond.